She was the embodiment of Hollywood glamour and sensuality, capturing the hearts of millions with her captivating beauty and sultry charm. But behind the dazzling smile and sparkling aura lies a tale of personal struggles and triumphs. Join us as we dive into the fascinating world of Marilyn Monroe, the iconic actress who still continues to mesmerize and captivate us decades later. Who was Marilyn Monroe? From rags to riches, Marilyn Monroe blazed a trail in Hollywood with her mesmerizing beauty and unparalleled talent. With a string of hit films that grossed over $200 million, she established herself as one of the world's biggest and most beloved stars. But her personal life was just as intriguing, with high-profile romances with Arthur Miller, Joe DiMaggio, and even rumored ties to President John F. Kennedy. Sadly, the icon's life was cut short at just 36 years old, leaving behind a legacy that still captivates and inspires us today. Early life and education. Born as Norma Jean Mortensen on June 1, 1926 in Los Angeles, California, Marilyn Monroe faced a difficult childhood, marked by instability, and spent much of her time in foster care or an orphanage. However, her life took a turn for the better when she was taken in by the Goddard family, who were paid $25 weekly by her mother to raise her. Despite these challenges, Monroe never lost sight of her dreams and went on to become one of the biggest and most enduring icons in Hollywood history. Raised by the deeply religious Goddard family, Marilyn Monroe's childhood was shaped by their strict fundamentalist beliefs. As a result, she was denied many of the joys of childhood, including movie-going. But when the Goddards had to move to the East Coast for work, young Monroe was left to navigate a life of instability once again, bouncing from one foster home to another. Tragically, she also faced sexual assault during this time and even reported being raped at the tender age of 11. Despite these hardships, she persevered, and by the time she was 15, she dropped out of high school. Marriage offered a glimmer of hope and stability for young Marilyn Monroe, who at 16 years old tied the knot with her boyfriend and merchant marine Jimmy Doherty. However, her search for identity and connection was a difficult one, as she never knew her father and had only speculation to go on. The rumor that Hollywood legend Clark Gable was her father was widely repeated, but there's no evidence to support the claim. Monroe's mother, Gladys, also faced her challenges, struggling with psychiatric issues that eventually led to her institutionalization. Growing up in difficult circumstances left a lasting impression on Marilyn Monroe. She would later recall one of her earliest memories as being her mother trying to smother her with a pillow in her crib. Monroe also had a half-sister, but the two were not close and only saw each other a handful of times. Career in acting. Did you know that the iconic Marilyn Monroe once worked in a munitions factory during World War II? From a young age, Marilyn Monroe dreamed of following in the footsteps of her silver screen idols, Jean Harlow and Lana Turner. When her husband was sent overseas during World War II, she found work in a munitions factory in Van Nuys, California, where she was discovered by a photographer. By the time her husband returned, Monroe had already established a successful career as a model and had signed her first movie contract. This new chapter in her life also marked a transformation, as she embraced a new moniker, Marilyn Monroe, and became the platinum blonde bombshell that would captivate audiences for decades to come. Despite starting as an underdog, Monroe rose to fame as one of Hollywood's most iconic actresses, captivating audiences with her breathy voice and stunning figure. But despite her success, Monroe struggled with self-doubt and pre-performance anxiety that sometimes left her feeling physically ill. Despite these challenges, she continued to captivate audiences with her undeniable talent, winning awards and leaving a lasting impression on the film industry. Though her tardiness on set became infamous, it only added to the mystery and allure of the Hollywood icon. She would be the greatest if she ran like a watch. Director Billy Wilder once said of her, "I have an Aunt Minnie who's very punctual, but who would pay to see Aunt Minnie?" Throughout her glittering career, Marilyn Monroe was signed and dropped from various film studio contracts. However, she wasn't content with being typecast as the quintessential dizzy blonde, and in the mid-1950s, she decided to take matters into her own hands. The actress took a bold step and traded Hollywood for the Big Apple, where she enrolled in acting classes with the legendary Lee Strasberg at the Actors Studio. Here, Monroe honed her craft and developed her skills, determined to showcase her range beyond the stereotypes she'd been typecast in. Despite her prior success and captivating charisma, by the early 60s, Monroe's career and personal life seemed to be spiraling out of control. Unfortunately, her final two films, Let's Make Love and The Misfits, failed to live up to expectations at the box office, adding to her struggles. Movies. During her career, Monroe's films grossed more than $200 million. Monroe's most notable films include The Asphalt Jungle, 1950. Monroe's small part in John Huston's crime drama The Asphalt Jungle was her first movie to garner a lot of attention. Niagara, 1953. In 1953, Monroe delivered a star-making turn in Niagara as a young married woman out to kill her husband with help from her lover. How to Marry a Millionaire, 1954. Monroe continued to find success in a string of light comedic fares, such as How to Marry a Millionaire with Betty Grable and Lauren Bacall. The three women set out to find millionaires to marry in the film, but they find true love instead. Bus Stop, 1956. Following a stint in New York at Strasberg's acting school, Monroe returned to the screen in the dramatic comedy Bus Stop. She received mostly praise for her performance as a saloon singer, kidnapped by a rancher who has fallen in love with her. Some Like It Hot, 1959. The year 1959 was a turning point for Marilyn Monroe, as she took on a role that would come to be one of her most iconic. In the hit comedy Some Like It Hot, Monroe played Sugar Cane Kowalczyk, a beautiful singer with a dream of finding a wealthy man to marry. But things take a hilarious turn when she crosses paths with Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis, who are in disguise as women, while on the run from the mob. With her performance in the film, Monroe once again captivated audiences and earned recognition as Best Actress in a Comedy at the Golden Globe Awards. The Misfits, 1961. The Misfits was Monroe's last completed film. Set in Nevada, this adventure drama reunited Monroe with Huston from The Asphalt Jungle. Monroe starred opposite Gable and Montgomery Clift. In the film, Monroe falls for Gable's cowboy but battles him over the fate of some wild Mustangs. Something's Got to Give, 1962. Monroe's final film project, Something's Got to Give, had her co-starring with the legendary Dean Martin. Unfortunately, due to her frequent absences from the set, Monroe was ultimately dismissed from the film. Despite Martin's reluctance to move forward without her, the studio was forced to put the movie on hold. According to the New York Times, Monroe attributed her missed days of filming to illness. Spouses and lovers. Throughout her life, Marilyn Monroe had three significant partners whom she married: James Darty from 1942 to 1946, Joe DiMaggio in 1954, and Arthur Miller from 1956 to 1961. However, she was not just limited to these marriages, as she also had romantic relationships with iconic figures such as Marlon Brando, Frank Sinatra, Yves Montand, and film director Eli Kazan. These relationships have only added to her enduring allure and have made her one of the most fascinating figures in Hollywood history. Did you know that Marilyn Monroe tied the knot at just 16 years old? It was with a 20-year-old merchant marine named James Darty. But what led to this impulsive union? Monroe's friend's neighbor suggested that they got married so she wouldn't be sent to an orphanage or put in another foster home. After just a few months of dating, the two said "I do." However, as Monroe's star rose in Hollywood, she saw a quick divorce in 1946. "I never knew Marilyn Monroe, and I don't claim to have any insights into her to this day. I knew and loved Norma Jean," Doherty later said. Monroe had a romantic history with three famous men, but out of all of her marriages, which lasted the longest? It was with legendary playwright Arthur Miller. How did they meet? The story goes that they first connected at a party in 1950 and later started exchanging letters. They reconnected in 1955 when Monroe moved to New York, sparking an affair while she was still married to a baseball icon Joe DiMaggio. Finally, the two lovebirds tied the knot on June 29, 1956. Speaking of DiMaggio, did you know that he had a touching tribute to Monroe even after her passing? He famously sent red roses to her crypt every year for 20 years after her death. However, their marriage wasn't without its challenges. Monroe struggled with multiple miscarriages and ectopic pregnancy, leading to cracks in their relationship. Sadly, their love story came to an end with their divorce in 1961, just as they were working on what was meant to be Monroe's final film, The Misfits. Despite the end of their marriage, Monroe and Miller's time together left an indelible mark on Hollywood history. Marilyn Monroe and JFK. Adding to the mystery and speculation surrounding Monroe's life and death, rumors of her alleged relationships with President John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert Kennedy have been circulating for decades. Her iconic performance of Happy Birthday, Mr. President for JFK on May 19, 1962, only fueled the rumors of their rumored affair. Despite the mystery surrounding their relationship, It remains one of the most talked about aspects of Monroe's life. President Kennedy even appeared on stage after the performance saying, "I can now retire from politics after having had Happy Birthday sung to me in such a sweet, wholesome way." Death. The world was shocked by the untimely and mysterious death of Marilyn Monroe on August 5, 1962, at the young age of 36. Despite an official ruling of drug overdose, rumors have persisted throughout the years that her passing may have been the result of foul play. A bottle of sleeping pills was discovered near her bed, but the exact details surrounding her death remain shrouded in mystery. Despite her untimely passing, Monroe remains one of the most iconic and influential figures in popular culture to this day. She was laid to rest in a luxurious casket, surrounded by only a select few loved ones. Her timeless beauty and captivating presence continue to be remembered, with even the legendary Hugh Hefner opting to be forever close to her in death by purchasing the crypt next to hers. Marilyn Monroe was not one to accumulate material possessions. It was only in the final year of her life that she finally acquired a home of her own. However, there was one item that she held dear and treasured: an autographed photo of the legendary physicist Albert Einstein. The picture, which was signed with the words "To Marilyn, with respect and love and thanks," holds a special place in the history of Monroe's life as a symbol of her intellect and her appreciation of genius. Legacy. Throughout the years, numerous celebrities have paid tribute to Marilyn Monroe by imitating her iconic look and persona, including Madonna, Lady Gaga, and Gwen Stefani. In 2011, the world was given a glimpse into the rare photos of Monroe's life through the publication of a book of photographs by the renowned photographer Sam Shaw. Then, in 2017, The Essential Marilyn Monroe was released, showcasing never-before-seen treasures captured in the 1950s by Milton Green and beautifully retouched by his son Joshua Green. Marilyn Monroe continues to captivate people decades after her untimely death. From her stunning performances on the big screen to a string of high-profile romances, her life was filled with both highs and lows. Her unique style and magnetic personality have inspired countless imitations, and the public's fascination with her only continues to grow. We hope you got some value out of this biography. If so, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more. See you in the next video.